I mentioned in class that research guides are the absolute most important thing in this class and in foreign and international legal research in general. Research guides are guides created by experts that highlight major primary and secondary sources. Thinking about how limited foreign and international legal research tools are, how they're usually not available via the typical tools we use for research like Westlaw and Lexis, research guides are going to be a great starting point in most contexts. But I wanted to highlight a few different options you have that are particularly good for foreign and international legal research. You're going to find that research guides vary dramatically in their structure and the type of information that they provide. So the in-class exercise will have you compare a couple of research guides to see the different approaches. Of course, as mentioned previously, the law library has its own research guides, but these are kind of big picture, kind of broad. As far as foreign and international legal research guides go, pretty limited. Foreign legal research, international legal research, a couple subject-specific ones. And these can be useful starting points. For example, the International Climate Change Law. It's going to direct you to some introductory resources, so some secondary sources that are going to help you get a grasp on climate change law in general. It's also going to have links to major primary sources, for example, the Paris Agreement, the official text there. And, again, secondary sources, some tips for finding journal articles. But overall, there are a lot of specifics. For example, country-specific research guides that our research guides simply don't cover. My recommendation, the thing that I always do, is consult multiple research guides. As you continue to develop your research skills, you should deliberately consult multiple research guides from different sources, and over time you're going to develop some preferences. For example, I love Georgetown Law Library's research guides. So if we Google Georgetown Law Library, they have such a good collection of research guides that just are a little bit more specific than the types of stuff that we provide. Using Google as a jumping off point, I think it tends to be a strategy that I prefer. So they have this list of research guides. They have some guides specific to foreign and international legal research. And there's a whole lot of stuff here. You can see a lot more specifics than the kind of stuff that we have. So, for example, there's a guide to Mexican legal research. And again, you're going to find major secondary sources. You're going to find links to primary sources. For example, looks like we have statutes and codes here. And some just general background information. The issue with using another university's research guides is, of course, we might not have access to the same resources that they do. And even if we do, the links are probably going to be different. So you might click through a link, for example, this link to some Mexican statutes, and find that it's free and that there are no issues. But this Georgetown guide recommends this secondary source, Doing Business in Mexico, but all they provide is the link to the book in the Georgetown catalog. So if we want to figure out whether our library has Doing Business in Mexico, we can just pop over to our library catalog and let's see, do we have it? And it looks like we have at least one copy of this resource available. Of course, we're not always going to have resources from other libraries. In this case, we might have kind of an out-of-date version of this book, but I'm constantly using other universities' research guides. It really does a great job to help you discover important primary and secondary sources that might be free or that we also have in our collections. Another option that I love is GlobalX. I often just Google GlobalX research guides, but the URL is nyulawglobal.org. It's an NYU organization. They have a fantastic collection of international, comparative, and foreign legal research guides. And they go into a lot more detail about general structural information in their foreign law research guides in particular. So for example, we go down to Japan. Let's see. You got to make sure to click the update, otherwise you'll be taken to an older version of these guides. Here you'll find general information on Japan's legal system. You'll find links to major primary sources. For example, the publication that contains legislation, the publication that contains case law, blogs, law journals, newspapers. Again, shortcuts to finding major primary and secondary sources and background information are the advantages of research guides. The UN also has its own legal research guides. This is particularly useful for international issues. And these are designed for people working at the UN. So I always just Google UN legal research guides. You can find these at research.un.org/en, and you have a variety of guides on various issues. For example, I plagiarized heavily their climate change law research guide, which again provides background information. It provides major reports, books and journals. This is a little bit less legal focused and a little bit more focused on the broader issue of climate change. But of course, this stuff is pretty helpful if you're researching international issues. So all that being said, if you have any international or foreign legal research issue, highly recommend Googling it, opening up a few tabs to look at a variety of research guides. For example, if you're researching international intellectual property law, just search International Intellectual Property Law Research Guide. And, check out a few of these. We got one from Columbia, one from UW. Looks like there's a Georgetown one that's specific to patents. And just take a look at the resources that they recommend. Many of them are available through Lexis or Westlaw if you're dealing with private international law. You'll see different resources on this Columbia guide and different resources on this UW guide. So yeah, use research guides. That's all you need to know. Bye.